your new album is the third part of a trilogy. How long has it been done for?
How long did it take me to do it?
Yes.
It took me a couple of months to work through all that. Not 24/7, but come up with the right compositions that I felt all hung together as a statement. Most of these pieces are fairly layered and elaborate, so they don't just, there's a lot of experimentation to get the right sounds knit together to make the textures that I'm looking for to support the guitar solos or melodies on top. Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I'm always looking for very fresh sound, so I try to avoid anything that I think might be cliched. Takes a bit of effort.
For sure. How much of your playing on an instrumental album like this is improv versus actually sitting there crafting over and over and over again and so forth?
Yeah. Well, this album is, I have to keep always look like what are the songs? Yeah. It's a mix of both of those. There's some very sort of composed pieces like Harmonics of the Night. And, there's usually a section in there that I'll set up. And I know that that's where I'm going to play the improvisation, the solo, the guitar solo. And so it's kind of a mixture of, like compositions that are really worked out. Well, kind of as I go along, like say I write an A section, a double A section, then I've got to find some, harmonic other place to go to, which would be a section. Then it might come back to A or sort of slightly twisted A and then go into a solo. So there's, it's one thing to find a sound and something that might inspire you, but then you have to have compositional ability to turn it into a structure. So I'm always generally, I'll talk about the tracks. A piece like Harmonics of the Night, it's definitely worked out and is an absolute structure. So it starts with something and it ends with, a sort of reprise of where you started. It's musical composition. But then a piece like Spell is a pure improvisational guitar solo that was done on a dobro, actually, in a special tuning. So that's how I was able to come up with that particular kind of improvisation. It wasn't standard tuning at all, which is unusual for me because mostly I play in standard tuning.
Yeah. But most people that I speak with, if they have 12 songs on the album, that means that they wrote 12 songs. But in your case, people who buy the vinyl get bonus tracks per se. I believe it's 3 bonus tracks for this release. So did you write 15 tracks in total for this album, or did you write 25 and you pared it down?
Yeah, no, it was, there's 2 answers to that. I probably came up with 25 things. And then, maybe 15 would make the cut. 15 on a CD is pushing it a bit. So, and if people want to actually purchase the vinyl album, the double vinyl, then you give them the extra tracks. And I thought I had some pretty interesting, strange tracks that would work well on the vinyl. The one thing about the vinyl is that, of course, you can't get all this on. You can only put 20 minutes on a side. And then if you put more than 20, your sonic quality goes down. You can't even make it as loud. So there's a slight programming for the double vinyl album. But in this case, it worked out quite well because I had enough material and I had those 3 extra strange tracks to add into it, which actually go completely perfectly with the rest of it anyway.
Yeah. Well, speaking of having material per se, you get increasingly harder to describe what it is you do, because I would say most people in your position, being a member of one of the most, in my opinion, influential bands ever and commercially successful bands ever, they would coast on that forever. And then seeing all the success that you've had in the photography realm, then seeing that you didn't just do fiction with your literary work, you also did nonfiction. So there's other stuff you've done beyond that, creatively speaking. So it's kind of like, is Andy a musician? Is he an author? Is he a photographer? What is he at this point in time? How do you
I'm all those things.
Yeah.
I'm interested in all these things. They're all forms of expression. And of course, they're all challenging in their own right. I mean, first and foremost, I'm definitely a musician, and not to sound too cute, but I seem to be able to do other things quite well too. Like photography, but all these things. If you want to be good at it, you do put in some time and you work at it. Photography started, like in 1979 for me when we were starting to tour in the US. But I took to it immediately. I mean, it was in me, and I'm working on a film at the moment that kind of explains how I got into this passion for photography that seemed to come from my teenage years watching so many European art house films. And that's where it came from. And they were pretty much all in black and white. And they were so thrilling to me when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, as well as I was, playing the guitar like mad. So in a weird way, although I didn't actually take up photography per se at that age, it did emerge about 10 years later. And I was like, oh yeah, I could do this too. So, I'm someone who's interested in things. So, I'd like how did you do that? I want to know how you do that. And so there is a sort of a weird logic to all this,
So it sounds like the problem for you isn't finding the creativity, it's finding the time for the creativity and which you're going to work on.
It's right. There's a lot going on and trying to keep it all under control. I mean, I do feel right at the moment a little bit, I've got like 3 major projects going. How am I going to stay on top of all this? But, I have help. And, I think as an artist, I think you have to be fairly organized. You have to have some discipline. It's not all this wild romantic thing like, it doesn't just drop out of the sky. A lot of it's just hard work. It's trying to stay on top of it all. I mean, we're now in the realm of the computer world and digital and all that. So it's become sort of easier to control it all.
Yeah.
It's not like I wrote a bunch of songs when I was 25 and I've forgotten what they all were. I mean, all this stuff gets cataloged and, we know where it is. So, because I suddenly, I did that thing 5 years ago. What was it? No, it was called, and then we can go back into the computer and usually find it. So I think it's, some of it's making your way in the world, the new world we're in, well, it's not even that new anymore. It's been around for a while now, but getting more interesting all the time. Like, for instance, I just got a few days ago an iPhone 13 with its cinematic thing on it, which is pretty amazing, I got to say. Who would have thought you could shoot like that with an iPhone? And so as I'm making a lot of videos these days, I can see that I'll be using that guy a lot.
It's cool though.
Add another string to your bow, if you like.
Yeah, it's cool that you're able to combine your media. That, for example, one of the videos that you've put up for Harmonics of the Night, that features your photography per se.
Yes.
So you're officially, I think, what they call a multimedia artist.
Oh, I'll take that. I think I am. And I mean, the show that, we can't really go out and play shows right now because of what, but, I'm on the phone with the agent today. So they're all being booked for Europe next year, and I'll be continuing with the sort of solo person multimedia show. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
That actually was going to be my next question of what's coming up that you're allowed to talk about per se. You mentioned also before you're working on 3 major projects. And as we talked about, it can be a little challenging to figure out where to put your time for each of those things. What I'm curious about with your
it is difficult. I see these things in front of me. I'm trying to work my way through a movie that I think could be really interesting, and it'll all be made from still photography. And now, because of this lovely phone 13, we add some kind of cool video into it, and it'll be voice up over my voice and music, of course. I did quite a lot of work on it today with my assistant, and we've got a kind of, I think with these things, when there's so much information going in to build something like a movie, you have to be pretty organized. I think we've just kind of got a methodology today on the computer how to load what the voiceover will be against the photographs. So we're sort of moving in the right direction with that now. So that's going nicely. of course, I want to write some new music because I probably want to have another record out next year. But we're all stuck at home anyway, so what else do we do? Then I have a very big photography book that will be released next year. That I'm working on right now with a printer, and I need to edit that down a bit because it's a bit oversized, I think, and do some writing for it. That will be accompanied by exhibitions in Europe. So, you know, it's a full plate, and you know, at least, you know, we're here, and you know, hopefully things clear up somewhat for, you know, I'm thinking like next spring, early summer.
Well, the second to last thing I want to ask you about related to all that is a lot of creatives that I speak with only create when they're inspired, per se. But it sounds to me almost like you treat creativity as your 9 to 5, your 10 to 6, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. I'm very driven by it. It's really what gets me up every day, and I enjoy it. You know, instead of being sort of subsumed by being in a band with all the roughness of what that takes between whoever's in the band, yeah, performance and on the road and all that. This is more, right, now I have a guy that's worked with me for years. He's very, very good, and he's my engineer, and he's very tech, and he's become very good at working in Final Cut Pro. So we're kind of together, like almost as a team, moving somewhat more into the, you know, video and filmmaking realm. But eventually, you know, I'm going to be back in the studio hardcore, you know, to just try and make it to another album. And I want to try and do something different than the last 3. So it's all, you know, tracks that we're on, and you know, but I really enjoy it. Yeah.
And my creativity. The last thing I'm curious about is you've been stuck at home just like all of us, really.
Yeah.
But there's been no shortage of creativity and output from you as well. Do you have a TV recommendation or two that you could pass along, a show or two you could recommend?
Well, I mean, yes. Well, there's several, because what are we going to do? We're all viewers these days. I mean, weirdly enough, I'm enjoying this Korean show called The Squid Game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes.
I thought, oh my God, that's not for me. Then I started watching it. I thought, actually, this is really creative, quite artistic, and I really like the characters. I think the Korean actors are great. I got caught into that one. And then, of course, there's some marvelous shows like The Bureau, a French show called The Bureau. One of my real favorites. That was tremendous. Yeah.
So you've got good taste.
Or Babylon Berlin was another great one. Yeah. Don't get me started.
But being mindful of your time here, I really appreciate you taking it. Yeah. And I hope one of your multimedia exhibitions gets here to New York eventually. I will be there when that happens.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did Metropolitan Museum of Art last summer or the summer before, whenever it was, before all this stuff happened. So yeah, of course, New York's always a magnet. Exactly.
And now that you finished the trilogy, I'm looking forward to the next trilogy. So thank you for your time, Andy.
Okay.
And up the greatness.
Paltrocast.